those decor boxes that you guys all love so much, the decor boxes that are labeled with styles that can be relatable, like grand millennial or granny chic or grandpa chic or Barbie core or whatever core we want to talk about, as there are so many design styles that end now with the word core. And those boxes are really safe places for us to land. We grew up with the phrase, home is where the heart is, but our culture has shifted and now the message is, home should be Pinterest perfect. I'm calling BS on that message. Home, it's not about the stuff, it's about the story. And whether you know it or not, your home is a reflection of you and is already saying something. So what is it that you want it to say? Hey, I'm Dani, a former first grade teacher turned home decorator. Going from a dual income to a single income so I could stay home with my babies meant budget, like ramen eating, Goodwill shopping budget. And I learned a few things along the way, like how to bring big style to your home without breaking the bank. And I'm sharing it all with you. Tips, tricks, decor, and design advice so you can learn to tell your story with your style, where you can start living free from the Pinterest perfect trap and start living a life of intention. Welcome to Fig and Farm at Home, where we design happy living and where it doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. Trends are funny little things, aren't they? They're things that seem to be a flash in the pan, but if you really go back and think about the trends, and I am air quoting, from my 2025 trend report, now not compiled by me, compiled by lots of really smart, fancy pants, degreed designers. A lot of the trends on that report are things that have been showing up year after year after year for the past several years. And it's interesting that a lot of these things that they're showing up on that report, like sustainable materials, using heirloom items, using more plants, using more natural, I suppose that goes into the sustainability, natural items, colors, muted or even bold. A lot of those we can package into this idea of those decor boxes that you guys all love so much, the decor boxes that are labeled with styles that can be relatable, like grand millennial or granny chic or grandpa chic or Barbie core or whatever core we want to talk about, as there are so many design styles that end now with the word core. And those boxes are really safe places for us to land because they give us some parameters for where those, trends come into play within these parameters. Now, here's how it gets a little tricky, because I know that if I were to say mid-century modern, nautical, grand millennial, whatever those big name decor styles are, I know what I think about those. It's all about perception, right? But if I were to say, hey, what do you think of when you think of California casual or grand millennial? What do you think of? You might A, have no idea, and that's absolutely fine, or B, have your own perception based on how you perceive that style to be. And that's one of the main reasons why I say I don't think that matters here. I think it's more about the heart of knowing and identifying the elements that you gravitate to, that make you light up, that you want to bring into your home. But I do identify and I do understand that sometimes those boxed labels can be very safe for us. And so today we're actually talking about one of those. And the one that we're talking about, this is not new, but it is. Okay, am I speaking out of both sides of my mouth today? I kind of am, but I'm going to explain why in just a second. The design style we are talking about today is Cottagecore. And Cottagecore, you really first started hearing about it right after the pandemic. But that's not really when it first came around. The name came around actually around 2016, but it was a trend, a style that was kind of building up a little momentum, but it was building it up slowly. And then it was kind of going by the wayside. Honestly, it didn't really take footing. According to the global trend expert, Patty Carpenter, it didn't take footing until we were all forced into a global slowdown. Of course, we don't need to replay what happened there, but our lives, of course, were slowed down. And then Cottagecore really had a fire lit underneath it. And that's when we started taking notice of this design trend. but it's still around. Now, there are some differences. This is now the new cottagecore. There are some differences within the cottagecore of today and of 2020 because 5 years have passed, and that is what we're talking about. We're talking about cottagecore in general and the way that it's taken just a little bit of a metamorphosis to today. I think it's interesting to note too that when there's a trend that comes along, there is a counter trend, and cottagecore definitely defines the counter trend because cottagecore is maximalism based, and that is counter to the minimalism trend that is still going strong. Now, if you go back and listen to the 2025 trend report, the first episode that I published after the new year, you're going to hear some of that even in the way that the design experts predicted trends, like muted colors, for example. And then, you know what else is popular? Actually, bold, saturated hues. Isn't that interesting? And that is true with cottagecore. So what is it? The design elements that kind of make up cottagecore, it's really actually more of a lifestyle than it is about these elements. A lifestyle that kind of embraces a kinder, slower, more gentle, soft pace of life. It focuses around family first and time together and going outdoors, making your own food, gardening, the homesteading movement that is happening. That is kind of rooted in cottagecore. Now, does that mean that if you're a homesteader, you have all kinds of the design elements of cottagecore? No, not necessarily, but we could easily see those two cohabitating. Cottagecore is driven by nostalgia. So in cottagecore homes, you are going to find a lot of heirloom pieces. You're going to find handmade pieces. You're going to find found pieces to really bring those stories back to life. And if you are picturing the English countryside, and especially the movie The Holiday, yep, I am too. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch The Holiday with Cameron Diaz and Jude Law, one of my very favorite holiday movies, but you can watch it other times of the year. I won't tell. Cottagecore really focuses on functionality and style, but functionality first. We want it to be a cozy place to be, a place where lounging is encouraged. Decor is not just decor is intentional. And the one thing that I really love about this, which focuses on one of those trends that fits nicely into this box, and that is shopping with intentionality, slow decorating, curating over time, finding the pieces that work for you rather than forcing a design, procuring items more at places like thrift stores, antique stores, vintage markets, bazaars, garage sales, estate sales, consignment shops. I mean, if you want the cottagecore look, please sign me up to come and help you, because how much fun would it be to go thrifting for all of the things? Matching, the matchy thing, we're just going to say X to that with cottagecore because it's just not a thing. Okay, have I convinced you that this is you or not you? I really can appreciate cottagecore design. I love the cozy intentionality. I love the wanting to sit and stay a while. I love the idea of non-pretentious decorating. Of course, you know I'm all about function and style, not just style. And I want it to be a reflection of you. And cottagecore really does that because it really highlights the story, and the story of maybe the family before you, and the story of maybe those secondhand pieces of furniture that you're now bringing back to life. I love that. Is my home cottagecore? Are you wondering? No, it's not, but it definitely embraces some of those elements, and I can really appreciate it. So how can you bring cottagecore into your home, and how is it just a little bit different than the cottagecore of 2020? We're going to talk about those differences just a little bit. In 2020, the color was focused more around soft colors, blues and pinks and greens and yellows, but not like the Easter variety, right? These were not pastel colors. These were more dusty, a little bit more muted, a little bit more like if it had a dirty tint to it, of course it's still a beautiful color, but if it had like an underlayer of gray, we'll just say, it took that pastel into more of a dusty color. Today, cottagecore is embracing a little bit more of the bold hues, a little bit more of the jewel tones. Another difference of cottagecore of 2020 versus today, floral prints were really big. Well, let me back up and say that. Floral prints were really popular because in 2020, they were actually very small, the small prints. Floral prints are still indicative of cottagecore design, but today they are bolder. They're just taking up a little bit more space. They're bigger. But the other design elements are pretty similar. Mixing patterns, having lots of texture and layers, the functionality, focusing on quality pieces, heirloom pieces, rather than quick furniture. Really paying attention to where things are sourced and giving them second life. All of those are still very indicative of cottagecore of today and of 2020. So how do you bring cottagecore into your home? How do you do that? There are 10 ways that I think that you can do it rather easily if this is something that you want to give a go. The first one is to really concentrate on layers and depth and texture and pattern. Now, if pattern play scares you, what you need to know is that there really are no rules here. Now, side note for all of you who are part of the collective, my monthly membership where I teach weekly lessons for how to decorate with simple lessons that you can apply really literally that day. In the fall, I taught about pattern mixing, and there are different ways that you can pattern mix. Collective members, that still applies if you are just wanting to use patterns carefully, mindfully, and not go over the top with cottagecore. This is different. So all of you who felt like, oh, I'm finally getting it, just keep in mind that cottagecore has no rules around pattern. Bringing in layers and texture and patterns can happen in all places. It can happen on the ceiling. It can happen on the walls with wallpaper. It can happen on all kinds of textiles. It can happen in curtains. It can happen in pillows. It can happen in blankets. It can happen in carpets or area rugs. Basically, the more the merrier here. It is a party. It is a pattern play party. All right, number 2, bring in florals. We just talked about how the difference between yesteryear of small florals and today of 2020, or 2025, are the bigger, bolder florals. Regardless, it doesn't matter. Florals are still a part of cottagecore design. Number 3, this is going to scare you, I think, but use wallpaper. Don't be afraid of wallpaper. Wallpaper is still very much a thing, even in just general design, but in cottagecore design, absolutely. If you're wondering about trying wallpaper and you're thinking, it's a big commitment, it can be, yes, if you use the more permanent wallpaper, the more traditional wallpaper, but there are other alternatives. If you want to give it a try, there's like basically stickers that you can put on your wall that is wallpaper. That is my least favorite way to apply wallpaper. I've done all 3 where you have the peel and stick, where you have the traditional, and then you have the middle ground where you activate the paste by spraying it. I've done each one, and I have to say, I really appreciate the traditional. It is easiest by far for me anyway, and especially if you're doing it solo, which I did in my own home. I'm going to link a blog article that I wrote years ago about the 3 different types. If you're interested, it'll be in the show notes. The 4th way that you can bring in or try to have a little bit more cottagecore in your home design is to use upholstered furniture. Think about those slip-covered sofas you see, how cozy they are and inviting they are. Those are pretty prevalent within cottagecore design. And I want you to think about furniture too that might have some wood accents, and not just any wood accents. So not like the tapered leg, but if it had the round leg, and if it had a round leg with a wheel on it, even better. Those little details matter so much in cottagecore design. All right, number 5, you do want to bring in color. This is not the home design where we are loving white. Now, can you have white walls? Absolutely. White is actually a great foundation for changing up things that are smaller like the decor. But now it is a colorful home. Of course, I already mentioned that in 2020, the colors were a little bit more soft, a little bit more muted, a little bit more dusty. And of today, cottagecore is a little bit more bold, more jewel tones than you would pastels with a dirty hint to it. Regardless, color. And we're talking If you don't want to just have white walls, if you want to have color, we're talking color on places that are a little bit more unexpected. So many cottagecore homes have baseboards that are colored, doors that are colored, and then the walls are left a lighter, more neutral. It's a little bit more bold of a look. But friend, we are meant to live in our homes, right? We're meant to enjoy our spaces. We're meant to walk into rooms in our home and say, I delight in this space. And if that is the delight that you desire, why not? What is holding you back from saying, this is something that I love, I'm going to apply it in my home? What is holding you back? Ask yourself that question. All right, number 6, wood furniture. Yes, we're talking about the heirloom pieces. We're talking about the quality craftsmanship. We're talking about the things that are handmade even. We're talking about hand-me-downs. These are pieces that are pretty prevalent in the cottagecore design, but let me also note, this is also a trend, air quote, of the 2025, 2024, 2023, 2022 trend report of the entire year. Using these pieces and moving away from fast production pieces is an upward trend, focusing more on sustainability, where it came from, heirloom rather than, in the way that it was made in the good old days, those kinds of pieces. This, by the way, one of the things that you guys have loved the most is when I talk about quiet luxury in your homes. This type of wood furniture is that. We want to use quality pieces, same as we would in quiet luxury. Honestly, same as we would in grandma chic, in grandpa chic, in grand millennial, in any of those, we want to use the quality pieces. All right, number 7, if you're wanting to bring in more cottagecore, pay attention to the details. Things like eyelets, embroidery, curved legs, scalloped edges. Pay attention to those little details because those details matter. Number 8, oh my goodness, this is one of my very favorite ones, very favorite. And this, because cottagecore is more of a lifestyle movement that has a design element to it, the lifestyle is focusing on family meals, cooking from scratch, gardening, now in 2025, maybe even raising your own chickens. But this example of ways to bring in cottagecore into your home is one near and dear to my heart. I've been doing it for years. I absolutely love it, not just for holidays, special occasions, but for any time I'm hosting people, and that is to focus on the tablescape. Creating beautiful tables that have lots of layers and texture and height and depth and all the things brings attention to not just the food, but the experience. Number 9, having cozy spaces, but also very functional spaces. Basically, if you follow the rule that if anything that decor related is out, it is decor, a cottagecore embraces this wholeheartedly. So no more hiding away the vases that don't get used, but maybe 3 times a year. No more hiding away baskets. No more putting things behind the cupboards. Of course, functional storage, right? You need to have places to put things. But the idea here is that if it is out, if it is visible, if it is on a counter, on a table, on a entryway table, wherever it is out, it can be functional and beautiful. Combining those two is really important. And of course, you might be thinking, well, of course it's out, but this is not decor for decor's sake. This is that piece of thing, whatever that decor item is first serving a purpose. It is first collecting keys, or maybe holding the napkins, or maybe holding a thing of Cheerios, whatever the function is. And then if it is left out, it is now decor. No decor items just for decor items' sake. All right, and number 10, of course, this has been on the trend report for the last, I don't know how many years I've been doing this, but however long it has been, bringing the outside in, picking those fresh flowers, taking off cut stems from branches in your yard, in the flowering trees. Now, does this mean more work? Sure, because those things die, right? But bringing in those fresh pieces, those fresh elements, brings in a bit of cozy, a bit of cottagecore love here. And if that is too much work, bringing in plants, having more plants and not faux plants, having live plants. Now, if you are already thinking, oh my gosh, I have 2 black thumbs, and if honestly, maybe I just have all black fingers. I kill all the plants. If that is you and you're thinking, I do not want to do that anymore, but I'm intrigued, I just don't know how to take care of them. Or maybe you do, but you just don't know quite how to style them. I have a free guide for you. It's a training I did recently for the members of the collective, where I taught them not only how to style plants, how to bring them into your home and use them in different ways that we might not be thinking about, but where to start if you are one of those people who believe that you always kill the plants and you can't do anything other than kill the plants. I have 6 plants in there for you that are easy to start with, and 3 of them actually communicate to you when they need watering and how. Really easy. All right, friend, you can grab that training and get a sneak peek at what one of the weekly lessons are like by going to bit.ly/FF, like Fig and Farm, home plants. I'll put that link in the show notes. All right, friends, so now that you have seen what is inside of that cozy little package, that cozy little box called Cottagecore, the design style that is so lovingly labeled, what do you think? Something you're going to give a try? Taking risks in home design doesn't always have to look so dramatic as embracing one design like Cottagecore. Sometimes it can just mean trying to figure out how to make a space more functional, how to make a space work better for you, how to decide on a color palette, how to make your space more cohesive. And sometimes those changes and the thought of doing those changes alone can be scary. What if you make a mistake? What if you don't like it? What if you can't necessarily visualize what the changes are going to be, and so you don't make any changes at all? If that sounds like you, friend, I invite you to book a Decorating SOS call where I hold your hand through the process. We talk about the goals that you have for your space, the things that you might have tried that you are afraid to try again, or that you don't want to repeat mistakes. We talk about the things that are holding you back from moving forward. So let's move forward together. Booking a Decorating SOS call gives you the courage to take that very first step because you have the safety net right beside you. You can book that call by going to figandfarmathome.com/decorating-SOS. And I would be more than honored and very delighted to meet you in your space so we can help you reach your decorating goals together. Okay, until next time, I'll see you soon. Hey, real quick before you go, if you learned something new or found value in today's podcast, would you head over to iTunes to Fig and Farm at Home and leave a review and subscribe to the show? That would be awesome. And if you'd like to connect with my community of mamas who are learning to be intentional storytellers within their own homes, join us at bit.ly/design101 group. There's always more room at the table. See you soon.